Hello, everyone, and welcome to the best and worst of Walt Disney World. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the best mistakes to make when planning your Disney vacation. I am your host, Ryan O'Clavin, and to join me for this week's discussion, we've got Mr. Charles Boda.
Hey, folks.
Mrs. Jackie Gailey.
Hi, guys.
Mrs. Steve Porter.
Mrs.
And Mr. Craig Williams in the back there. So thank you, everybody, for joining us here this week. This week's topic was brought to us by the one and only Jackie Gailey. And we're just going to kick it off right here with going with the first thing that you said was one of the best mistakes to make when planning your Disney vacation, which was having no advanced dining reservations. So no ADRs. And you want to tell us why you thought that was a great mistake to make?
Yeah, I do. So hopefully not everyone is going to be like, wait, what? So over the years, it has become increasingly difficult to get those exact dining reservations that you want. And I so often see online that people are devastated. They're so bummed. They're everything disappointed because they didn't get the exact dining reservations that they wanted, and they did it 180 days plus 10 days out. And I think that making that mistake of not doing any, some people would say it was a mistake. I don't think it is. I think that it is really fun to just fly by the seat of your pants and go eat when you're hungry somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it's one way that my family has discovered some of our very favorite things to eat at Walt Disney World. So, we'll go to a quick service that we may not have even thought of that we'd ever eat at, and we might discover something that we love. Mm-hmm. So, for example, the Pinocchio's Village House. Pinocchio's.
Whose?
I know. I'm saying it all wrong. I know it, but I don't have it in my notes. I just remembered this all of a sudden because I had salmon there one time, and we were not planning on eating there at all. But they have it's either baked or steamed salmon, absolutely fabulous. And I would never have thought of getting that there,
Yeah.
And so some of my favorites have been with random places like that.
I didn't even know you could steam salmon.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You can steam anything.
You can steam. Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. You were going to steal my joke. Anyway.
I just feel like that. Are you sure it wasn't Columbia Harbor House?
Yeah, I was gonna
because
say.
Pinocchio's Village House is typically Italian
Flatbread.
food.
All
yeah.
flatbreads and then salmon.
I think you're right. I think you're
Columbia
right.
Harbor House.
Yeah, Columbia Harbor House. Yeah, you know what? It was. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
I just had
Thank
to
you.
check it.
Yep.
I was going to say, I don't think they have that on the menu
No,
anymore.
they do.
But yeah.
It's not Pinocchio. It's Columbia Harbor House.
That makes sense.
And it's really good because I didn't want fried fish and chips was
Right.
what the deal was. So, and anyway, they had salmon. It was awesome. And we hadn't even planned on, we didn't even know what we were doing.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's really cool because when you don't have a set advanced dining reservation, you can pull up the My Disney Experience app and see what's available for your party size, or you can go try something that you've never done before.
Yeah, I can relate to being somebody who for people who don't get here very often, or for people who are here frequently, it can be hard sometimes to let go of that Disney favorite food that you want to get. Like every trip we go here, we eat this and we do that, and I feel like sometimes that can actually set you up for a bad time because what if the restaurant isn't delivering on what that built up thing that you've got in your
The
head,
nostalgia version of that food.
Yeah, so this forces you to be trying that new stuff, and who knows, you create a new favorite. It could go horribly wrong. It could go great,
but it may not.
I also think the tapas food at bars too has really been stepping up their game.
Tapas is your word of the day today. I've heard you say that 15 times today.
Well,
good one.
it's great.
But I do agree with you.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Bar, I think that, you can't get something at California Grill. We'll go to the lounge instead and just kind of get a couple appetizers.
That's a good point, too. A lot of favorites like that have lounges that go with them that you the menu might be a little different in there, so you can try that out.
And I will jump on the nostalgia train. Because this is something I do.
Choo-choo.
Especially at Disneyland when I go there. But at Walt Disney World, I know from so many people that come down and visit us and, they share their plans and stuff. It's you're eating at the same places that you always eat at. And that's not really a surprise because you did the food there the first couple times maybe, and that nostalgia factor really picked in. And we go there. That's what we do. We go there. And I just I related to myself thinking when I do that, I always inevitably have a bad time or two, but then you just keep coming back because it's like, but that's what we do.
Right.
We go there, and that should never be the deal with anything. If it starts slipping, if you have a bad meal or two, cut it off. Try something new.
And I feel like you give yourself a little bit of space. So there was one time that I was going, everybody was coming down and they're like, we got to do hoop-de-doo. And I'm like, yeah, I love hoop-de-doo. And there was one year, I think hoop-de-doo for me could be like once or twice a year, definitely at least once a year, I think. But like, there was one time where I was like, I think I did it like 6 or 7 times. And then I'm like, oh, the chicken wasn't quite as good this time as it was the last time. And then there got to a point where I was like, why do I keep doing this as much as I'm doing it? Clearly I'm trying to have a heart attack. But, other than that.
That's the other part about trying new stuff. There's so much, right? So I've only eaten at Hoop-de-Doo one time. I've been visiting Walt Disney World for 10 years now because I didn't go there until 2008. It was my first time there. So I've only eaten there once, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But the thing about trying new stuff,
you would never would have tried it if you didn't try something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's something else about it, too, where Disney dining is great, and we all like it, and we talk about it constantly, and we do it all the time. So I'm not downing that, but I will say there is no singular dining experience that makes or breaks a vacation. It can be a great element to it if you get your favorite place or get that restaurant. Unless you're like planning on eating at the same place where you proposed 20 years ago on the day, or like it's something like that, then you didn't get to go to your favorite place. It does not need to be. It can lead to a lot of positive consequences. But there are other places you'll enjoy. It's not a make or break thing.
Well, keeping on that train of thought there, the trains is the theme of this episode.
Choo-choo.
Is trying in the idea of trying new things is, well, how about a happy mistake being not being able to get your ideal hotel or resort, trying a different resort. That might be something, you always come down to the Contemporary. You want to be on that monorail line, but why not, you can't get in there this time. Why not try Polynesian or Grand Floridian, or even one of the ones that are on the boat service around, Wilderness Lodge or Fort Wilderness, something like that would be,
Yeah, this was a big one back in the 90s during one of our visits. We were staying pretty much every single time at Port Orleans French Quarter, and one trip we just couldn't get the availability there for the times that we wanted to go, and that forced my family to have to do a split stay because there was just no availability anywhere. One of them was Dixie Landings, which of course now is Port Orleans Riverside.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that ended up forcing us to do, just based on availability, was we were forced to go and stay at the Polynesian. And the only issue with that is that we had to stay at the Polynesian first and then downgrade to Riverside or Dixie Landings right afterwards. And that's
tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But that's a case. Didn't get our ideal hotel, what we were used to, what became a tradition of staying there, and it opened our world up to these new experiences, these new hotels, and that's pretty awesome.
Every time I feel like I bump into a listener or whatever, that they tell me that same or the similar story of, oh, well, we're staying at this place. We usually stay here, but we're really surprised with how great this place is.
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yeah. So I think that people are so ingrained in just this is like you said with the last segment, this is what we do, that they don't open up, to new possibilities. And you can really, there's so much at Walt Disney World to see and do. So
I'm going to make you sit on your hands for the next episode.
The other thing that's hard too about that is they get this ideal of this perfect bubble of this one resort that they love, and then over the years it's just like when you try something that you used to love as a kid and you remember how much you love it, and then you try it as an adult and you're like, oh my goodness, how did I like this? So it's kind of
they all have
similar.
an ebb and flow. They we see it a lot when the rooms get remodeled. The stay I had at Pop Century, for our 7 and 7 isn't the same stay that anybody's going to have after that, because
That's
now
right.
all the rooms are brand new.
Because they're all different.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I honestly think seeing that new room and doing it, I was like, wow, this kind of opens me up to being like, I want to be here now. I want to try this one. So
I've been in Wilderness Lodge and Animal Kingdom Lodge rooms recently, and I look at those and then comparing them to some of the other resorts where rooms have been remodeled. It's like, well, I would consider Wilderness Lodge my home resort if I was going to have one. Even the fact that you have Copper Creek right there, which the rooms are stunning, and then compare them to a standard, it's like, oh, no, that's not even going to work. So sometimes you just, even though it's your home, you have to be willing to see what's new. And
exactly.
what's on the horizon.
To see what others offer. That was very Pocahontas of you. I appreciated that.
It was.
What was just around the river bend.
Yeah, and there is.
One Gapo to you. Another one on, this was Craig's, and I completely agree with this, was not getting a park hopper pass. Now, I originally, years ago, would think to myself, why wouldn't you should always get a park hopper pass, because you can go to all 4 parks. But, now having been here as long as I have, and kind of knowing the experience that transportation can be, the amount of stress and time it takes, I will say this, we are very spread out resort here at Walt Disney World, and the fact that there are free buses that get you here and there is great. Monorails, the boats, all this sort of stuff. However, that does still take time. No matter how quickly and efficiently it is running, that is time that you are losing out of the park because you've chosen to go to another park. And I think kind of forcing yourself to stay in a park for a day, especially if you're a first-time visitor or you don't come that frequently, it really kind of focuses you in on what's going there, instead of thinking, I've got to hit Everest and I've got to go on, Tower of Terror, and then I've got to get over and do Test Track. Just being like, hey, this is our day here. Let's stick to it here. But you were the one who suggested this, Craig.
I think this works perfectly, especially if you go with number 1 on the list, in that you're not planning the ADRs. The only time I would say that this isn't it's a major issue is if you're that person that wants to go to these specific restaurants, then inevitably you're going to have to park hop. Yeah. Because there's just only so much availability. And if you can only get that one restaurant you love at Magic Kingdom, like Cinderella's Royal Table, if you can only get that on Monday, but then for dinner, you want to go to Le Cellier or something, it's like, well, if I can only get Le Cellier that day too, then I'm going to have to park hop from breakfast to dinner at some point. So it's kind of that you have to deal with that balance. But otherwise, just go and do it. It's not something that I think is for everyone, but it might end up increasing your enjoyment of the day. If you still need to go back to your hotel at some point, take a nap, all that's fine. Maybe you could park hop with that, but just try to keep it all in the same.
This is a good segue actually into the next one, which I'm sure whatever you're about to say can go into the next one too. You can switch the camera back to me.
Keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
Was not having a game plan for the day, because Craig just spoke about being able to go back and take a nap, being able to do that stuff. If you don't have a rigid plan, you play it a little loose, it can open you up for new opportunities as well. And go on, gentlemen. If there was something you were going to say that isn't in relation
I
to
can
that,
kind of
please.
go off of that. Just sometimes with having a plan, or with the last topic, sometimes trying to do too much, whether that's park hop or certain things in your plan, you then don't really do anything. Like, you only can do 1 or 2 things, and then you're wasting time either transporting, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's
transporting yourself around property, or different things that you're wasting time with. You have scatterbrain of cross property. You then are just really.
I feel like you're not enjoying the moment.
You're not, and you're not accomplishing as much.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. I don't know if it follows up with your segue as much, but if you can consider traveling to get to your vacation and then leaving. Travel is stressful in big ways, and it's stressful in small ways. So if you're spending part of your park days thinking, I'm not done yet, I still got to get over here and do this, and then we got to get back and do this, it's way more stressful on you, because in your head, you still have to travel. That's not all enjoyment. Whereas if you go to a park and you're just like, this is where I'm at for the next 10 hours. then you can meander, you can wander, you can go forcefully, you can zip from place to place, but you don't have that thing nagging in your head, more travel. I still have another thing to do before I'm finished, before I'm settled where I'm at.
That's right. That is such a big deal, the way you said that, because it took us, I would say, 3 Walt Disney World trips to figure out that time is money. And when back in the day, when they used to say you need to allow up to 90 minutes to get to your destination if you're using Walt Disney World transportation, we could get from A to B in less than 90 minutes. It didn't necessarily take us that long. Now it does. It really, really takes that long. You really have to allow an hour and a half. And listen, that's a lot of time.
Yeah. So if you have everything down to the minute and you don't account for that sort of thing, you kind of, it creates a new round of stress beyond just the stress of travel and things like that.
It does. Yeah. And it takes away a lot of your day. Like, we used to think it was really cool to go spend the day at one park and then finish the night at Magic Kingdom, which is really fun. But you have to now consider the cost of the park hopper to make it possible to do that. And then you really have to look at, do I want to spend the time that it's going to take me to get from some other park that I'm at, or Disney Springs, or wherever I am, to go over there and do that, or just finish off the night at the first park,
Yeah. So you got to weigh those options, especially when you're exhausted at the end of the day.
When you're exhausted, because you have no idea how the humidity can just exhaust you.
Well, I imagine rounding up the little kids, getting them on a Disney bus that is then like shaking just enough with the lull of the music, and then you got to wake those kids up when you get to the other park.
That's right. And nobody wants to wake up a sleeping child. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
If you did, you may not live to see the end of the day at the Magic Kingdom.
Well, I think that'll do it for this discussion. Thank you guys for having this discussion with me. That the list again for the best mistakes to make when planning your Walt Disney World vacation is to not have any advanced dining reservations, not getting your ideal hotel, you don't get a park hopper pass, and you don't have a game plan. You just came down willy-nilly. So that's our list. And as always, if you please leave us suggestions. Maybe we've missed some stuff, things that you think are happy mistakes. If you're watching this video, you can go ahead and do that in the comment section below. If you are listening on iTunes, please feel free to rate and review the podcast. If you, again, back to people watching, if you want to say subscribe to the channel and stay up to date on other videos and other content that we offer on the site, please feel free to do so and hit that little bell. It'll let you know whenever we make a new video or post or anything like that. And we are always welcome to suggestions for topics for future shows. However, I should have mentioned this in the beginning of the show. We are not going to be doing best and worst of dining related things. So that is a lot of the suggestions we've been getting, but I think those things are going to live on the dining show. So I do appreciate that. And we are happy to turn those into separate vlogs whenever we can. However, best and worst non-food related stuff on this show. So thank you again, everybody, for watching. Thank you guys for having the conversation. We'll see you next week with another episode of the best and worst of Walt Disney World.